Silent Sam might be gone, but the controversy over how campus police handled protests at the monument continues.
2 UNC professors are developing technology to get kids in the hospital up and moving.
And we'll take you on a special tour of the North Carolina farm that produces a very unusual crop.
From the UNC Hussman School of Journalism and Media, connecting Carolina's campus and community, this is Carolina Week.
Good afternoon and thanks for joining us. I'm Shondell Moniz.
And I'm Haley Boland. The protests over Silent Sam have taken a new turn. That's our top story. People are now protesting the findings of a report on how UNC police handled the Silent Sam protests last year. Some students and faculty say that the report is full of factual errors and unfairly defends campus police. Reporter Elizabeth Holmes joins us live from McCorkle Place with the details. Elizabeth?
That's right. Last week, the university released this report that was basically a review and investigation of UNC police regarding their actions and motivations in Silent Sam protests last academic year. Now, while this report said that UNC police acted without any bias toward protesters, new body camera footage may prove otherwise. New footage surfacing from UNC police body cameras during protests last August, saying things like, and the footage, released by a Twitter account called NC Workers, is said to be from August 30th, 2018, during the height of the Silent Sam demonstrations after its forceful removal. That night, Greensboro police forces assisting UNC police pepper sprayed protesters. The footage shows UNC police in Graham Memorial near McCorkle Place.
And then every one of them passed me. I said, thank you, thank you, thank you. They were very polite and cordial. But the other, the Antifa stuff.
An independent report conducted by former FBI Assistant Director Chris Swecker in March stated that although there were breakdowns in police procedures and practices, the motivations of UNC police were not improper. The report studied 4 different events, 2 different arrest cases, one in September and the other in December, as well as the police handling in the defacement of the Unsung Founders Memorial and the failure to arrest demonstrators carrying firearms, both that happened in March. However, the report does not include a review of August's incident. Interim Chancellor Kevin Guskowitz sent a notice following the report's release, saying, "We must nurture an environment where all members of our community can live, learn, and work without fear. Our work is ongoing, and I will continue to keep you informed of our progress." Now, the report also includes about 16 recommendations for UNC administration and UNC police, which includes an incident action plan and even further training. Interim Chancellor Guskowitz has said that these recommendations are currently under review, and some have even been implemented. Reporting live from McCorkle Place, Elizabeth Holmes, Carolina Week.
More than a year after Silent Sam's toppling, it's clear that the wounds of a divided campus still feel fresh for many. Now, one group of students have come up with a proposal to help the community move forward. Reporter Adam Jordan has the story.
McCorkle Place is home to UNC icons like the Davy Poplar, the Caldwell Memorial, the Unsung Founders Memorial, and formerly Silent Sam. But Envision Carolina is looking to build a new future for the North Campus Quad.
Our goal through running this campaign is to bring attention to the stories of the Carolina community.
Team leader J.P. Rickabaugh says to do that, the team of students in the Hussman School's New Media Technologies class is looking up. Specifically, they want to build a series of 4 arches representing the 4 centuries of UNC's history. The arches would house depictions of people from diverse groups in the university community throughout history to create an inclusive, physical gateway to campus.
We want to acknowledge and tell their stories and make people feel like they matter. People at Carolina don't feel like they have much of a say or much recognition from the university as a whole.
Communications Director Francis Chrysler says that inclusion of minority groups on campus is central to Envision Carolina's campaign.
One of our strongest focuses is accurately representing minority communities that haven't been represented in the past.
For Rickabaugh, the project has been more than a chance for him to leave his mark. He's hoping his team can uplift the entire campus.
I thought I was just going to go to classes, get a degree, and get a job, and now I feel like I'm doing something that inspires me, and I really hope inspires others.
Chrysler is looking forward to taking on a meaningful project with an unprecedented outcome.
I don't think something like this has been done before, so I'm excited to see where it's going to go.
In Chapel Hill, I'm Adam Jordan, Carolina Week.
Envision Carolina says they will draft a formal letter to the university. They'll post it on social media first, where they can get signatures in support of the art installment.
2019 marks 400 years since the first enslaved Africans were brought to this country. The Stone Center gathered a sizable crowd on Monday for a panel discussion called Collective Memories. This talk aimed to unpack the way that this country has changed since that defining event 4 centuries ago. It also encouraged communities from all backgrounds to come together, share their experiences, and take steps toward a more inclusive democracy. And the conversation isn't over. The Stone Center has more exhibitions and lectures scheduled for the rest of the school year.
If you've been around the football stadium lately, you might have noticed a change in its appearance. The plaque that once dedicated Keenan Memorial Stadium to William R. Keenan Sr. is now covered with a large UNC logo. The university says it wants to shift the focus away from Keenan Sr., whose name is tied to racial violence and white supremacy. Keenan Sr. was a leader in the Wilmington insurrection of 1898, a massacre that resulted in the death of at least 25 Black Americans.
The deadline to find UNC's new chancellor is fast approaching. The UNC Board of Governors is still conducting interviews and holding meetings to select the best candidate for the job. The names of the current candidates haven't been released, but we do know that current interim chancellor Kevin Guskowitz has expressed interest in the position. The board says that they plan to stick to their deadline and fill the position by the start of the spring semester.
There are new developments in the state budget battle that could impact UNC and other state colleges and universities. Reporter Peyton Tysinger has more.
Let's take 1 minute and look what these mini budgets I have actually do for this year. Community college employees, 1%. University employees, 1/2 of 1%.
The percentages are in reference to the raises those state employees would receive in the UNC system and community college mini budget. It is one of the 4 mini budgets Cooper vetoed on Friday. The other budgets are for information technology, reducing corporate taxes, and teacher pay in lower education. This ties into the larger conflicts of pay raises for all educators and Governor Cooper's push for Medicaid expansion. UNC system interim president Bill Roper said in a statement that the system remains hopeful for a good working solution, even though the raises proposed are higher than the ones Cooper initially presented. Cooper hopes these vetoes will lead to what he calls genuine negotiation.
I have vetoed these paltry pay raises and corporate tax cut bills so that we can start fresh with real negotiations.
For now, the operations of the state and UNC system have not been disrupted by the months-long delay in passing a budget. In Chapel Hill, Peyton Tysinger, Carolina Week.
Medicaid expansion continues to be a major issue the governor is pushing for, but he says he will tackle it separately from the education budget.
Shondell, I don't know how you felt when you stepped outside this morning, but I wanted to go right back in my house and slam that door. It's freezing.
I know,
outside.
It's freezing. I actually did go back inside and close the door. I have no idea what I was expecting, but it definitely wasn't that. Let's go outside for a live look. Yep, definitely so.
For light sweater weather comes true, our full forecast is up next.
Making just one connection during recovery from mental and substance use disorders can put the strength of family and community behind you. We're all connected, offering encouragement, support, and hope. Join the Voices for Recovery. Strengthen families and communities.
For confidential information on mental and substance use disorders, including prevention and treatment referrals for you or someone you know, call 1-800-662-HELP. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Oh, hi. I suppose you're wondering what an A-list celebrity like me is doing in a place like this. You must know, I'm saving the world. Oh, hi, Beth. Yep, saving the world again. Did you know that 40% of all the food produced in the United States is thrown away? That means everything that went into that food, the pesticides, the water, the land, was all for nothing. Just look at this perfectly good food thrown in the trash. The pizza with extra Cheerios, these goldfish and Band-Aid tacos. And just look at this perfect trash burger. This pasta dog looks delicious.
You don't have to dumpster dive like Ed Begley Jr. to save the planet. Fight food waste by shopping smart and using what you buy before it gets trashed.
That's way better. Ooh, arugula.
Do your part and find out other world-saving tips at betterthaned.org.
If you've ever had to stay in the hospital, you know that it's definitely not a fun experience.
Absolutely, and hospital stays can be especially difficult for children. I had a chance to catch up with 2 UNC professors who are working to brighten the experiences of pediatric patients while providing positive health benefits at the same time.
All children have a right to act like kids, regardless of their circumstances. That's exactly what 2 UNC professors are working to ensure for pediatric hospital patients by creating a video game.
They can be in the hospital for such a long period of time that we wanted something that was essentially a serious game that could get them moving, could get them to enjoy their hospitalizations a little bit more.
Intelligent goggles, yeah!
Thus, the augmented reality game known as Adventure Squad was born.
Over the time that they play the game, hopefully they have walked a good bit around the floor, and we see players playing from 10 minutes to 40 minutes.
When King and Hobbs first met, Hobbs expressed a need to get his patients moving, and King volunteered his experience with augmented reality programming.
The idea was, could we use storytelling and augmented reality to get them up and moving and exercising, hopefully getting out of the hospital sooner.
Adventure Squad works by sending its users on a quest through the floors of the hospital. They use a smartphone to scan targets, tiles with inspirational quotes on them. Then they get clues to find the next target.
So the more that we're able to get our patients up and moving, the less likely they are to have blood clots, the less likely they are to feel more isolated by being hospitalized, the less likely they are to stay even longer in the hospital.
Inside the walls of a children's hospital is a scene that is all too familiar to Holly Schwab. Her now 12-year-old son, Zachary, suffered from cancer at an early age.
When Zachary was 9 months old, he was diagnosed with a stage 3 intermediate risk neuroblastoma. In his case, he had a grapefruit-sized tumor in his abdomen.
The road to recovery for Zachary has been a long one.
At the point after surgery, he basically had to relearn how to sit up and to walk.
Schwab feels that a game like Adventure Squad would have completely changed her son's recovery and time in the hospital.
And something like a game or something interactive like that would have been extremely helpful to have to help encourage him and motivate him to want to do things.
Adventure Squad is still in the testing phases, but King and Hobbs plan to expand the game's target users to different age groups, from patients similar to Zachary all the way up to adults.
Our goal is to have this game in the hands of every hospitalized child in the country.
Brightening the days of hospitalized children one adventure at a time. In Chapel Hill, Haley Boland, Carolina Week.
Now, enjoying Adventure Squad isn't just for patients who are mobile. They've also developed a stationary version, which includes using the app with an illustrated book.
I know we keep talking about it, but I really just can't help it. It's so cold outside, and it was just warm like 2 days ago. I don't
It really
understand.
is so freezing. I mean, we experience different seasons every day here in North Carolina, and it was freezing when I left the house this morning. So what can we expect over the next few days? Weather reporter Caleb Oswald has our forecast.
Hey Heels, as you guys would probably start to notice, it's finally getting cold outside because it seems like winter is already here. So let's take a look at our 5-day forecast. Today the high is going to be 41 degrees with a low of 21, but it will not feel that bad outside because it's going to be sunny. Thursday, Friday, and Saturday are not going to be this nice. With a high of 44, 46, and 49, it's going to feel chilly outside because it's going to be raining all day long, so make sure to bring your jacket. It's going to get nice again on Sunday with a high of 49 and partially cloudy skies. Besides for today, the lows of the week are going to be in the mid-30s range, so make sure you have a coat on you when you go outside. Back to you guys in the studio.
Thanks, Kayla. Now, fire safety is something that college students probably aren't thinking much about.
But as reporter Blake Morgan learned from personal experience, it's something all students should know about. He joins us now in the studio with the Weekly Blender.
Fire safety is a term we hear often but rarely think about. Fortunately, that means in our daily life we don't deal with fire frequently. But what happens when you're faced with a blaze? Well, I was put in that position very recently after an oil fire started on my stove. And the feeling of sheer helplessness is something that no one wants to experience. And it was all because my roommates and I did not have a fire extinguisher in the home. Fortunately, the Chapel Hill Fire Department responded quickly and very little damage was done. But it was a very jarring lesson to learn. Students living on campus know you need to evacuate at the sound of an alarm, and if there is a fire, reach for one of the 7,000 fire extinguishers on campus. But if you live off campus, it falls on you to be prepared. If nothing else, I urge you to make sure you have an extinguisher and make sure it's inspected. But for a full list of tips and fire safety practices, make sure to check out UNC's Fire Safety Report. We'll have it on our Facebook page. That's your Weekly Blender.
Coming up, we will look at how the women's basketball team played against Navy on Monday night.
Pick up the phone, call 911 for one of my family members or one of my neighbors. What would I do if no one was on the other end to respond? What if there was no 911? So you can be a part of the solution.
Anybody can be a firefighter. Male, female, younger, older.
We have school teachers. We have leaders in business.
It's me, you, anyone that wants to be.
There is no typical firefighter.
All right, crew, let's get started. Sure.
Don't ignore the law. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 days before any digging project so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811.
What's up, guys? Welcome to sports. I'm Caroline Boyer. The women's basketball team is off to a strong start this season in Carmichael Arena. The Heels hosted Navy on Monday night and gave a preview of what's in store for the rest of the season. With 4 players posting double figures, Carolina dominated the midshipmen to a tune of a 40-point dub. It wasn't offense alone. The Heels put up 80 on the scoreboard while holding their opponent to a mere 40 points. With the defensive pressure, Navy was only able to shoot 26.3% on the game. The Tar Heels improved to 2-0 on the season and look to keep it going on Friday against Charleston Southern. Coming off a historic 22nd ACC title, the Heels are looking to bring the energy into the NCAA tournament. This squad is a favorite for the NCAA title, coming in as a 1 seed. The key for the Heels is maintaining their fire on all areas of the field. Brianna Pinto has been unstoppable on the attack with 10 goals on the season so far. Macy Bell has been a force to be reckoned with on the defensive end, earning her the title of ACC Freshman of the Year. Coming off the bench, Rue Mucherera is a spark plug, boosting team spirit on and off the field. Pinto, Bell, Mucherera, and the rest of the Heels start the big dance at home on Friday when they take on Belmont University. After another undefeated regular season, the UNC field hockey team is now also in survival and advance mode. The Tar Heels have been outstanding this year, building on their dominance from a year ago. They will play host to the first 2 rounds of the NCAA tournament. Carolina's first game will be played Friday at noon. Their first opponent will be the winner of the Miami of Ohio versus Stanford game. Head coach Karen Shelton has preached all season to take every game one at a time, but it may be hard to do so with a foreseeable rematch against arch rival Duke in the second round of the tournament. I'm no expert, but I would say their chances look pretty good. That's all for sports. Thanks for watching. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Caroline. Now, when you think of North Carolina farms, you probably think of crops like cotton, corn, and tobacco.
Yeah, I sure do. But there's one North Carolina farm that's one of the largest producers of, get this, crickets. That's right, crickets. Reporter Amy Cockerman has the story.
Bugfest in Raleigh brings in about 30,000 people a year.
A few thousand line up to have their first taste of crickets.
We have cricket tostadas. Some people are not as into it, and then other people love it. They clean their plates, so there's definitely a spectrum there. I have a cricket in my hand, and here goes nothing.
About 40 miles south of Bugfest, you can find millions of live crickets.
Well, hey, how you doing? This is Scott at Warren's Cricket Farm. I need to order some potatoes, please.
Scott Lee started working for Waylon Warren a few years ago. They were friends long before that.
We kind of hit it off. He didn't mind telling me what he thought, and I didn't mind telling him what I thought, and he just liked that about me, I guess, and I liked that about him.
Warren thought his son would inherit the business, but a couple years ago, he passed away after a battle with cancer.
I'm the only one left, and I'm 82 years old.
When tragedy struck Warren's family, he called Lee.
He didn't want to lose his son, nobody does, and he really didn't know what was going to happen here. He was worried.
Lee had never farmed before, but now he sells over 1 million crickets a week.
These are my babies.
Lee says he doesn't have the resources to sell his crickets for human consumption. His customers are mostly fishermen, but he won't be surprised if one day chefs make up the bulk of cricket buyers. Some experts are saying crickets will become an essential source of protein in the human diet. Dr. Alan Cohen isn't so sure.
They will be a novel part of the diet, but they're not going to be the main part of the diet.
Cohen says the biomass required to produce enough crickets will be just too high to feed the masses. Crickets also have less nutritional value than other sources of protein. You can get 12.9 grams of protein by eating 100 grams of crickets, but you can get nearly double that amount by just eating beef or pork. Scott Lee says cricket farming isn't easy, but it's something the Warren family has mastered.
And just last week, we got a woman from New Mexico that wants our crickets. So the word's getting around, we got a pretty good cricket. And I'm proud of this boy. I mean, they've come a long way.
Lee says when his old friend asked him for help, he just couldn't let him down.
I'm just trying to keep him happy as long as he's on this earth.
In Dunn, I'm Amy Cockrum reporting.
Haley, did that make you hungry?
You
can be
no,
honest.
ma'am. I don't think I'll be ordering crickets for lunch anytime soon. I'm more of a chicken nugget person myself, I have to say.
No
Sorry.
fun, no fun.
That's all for this edition of Carolina Week. Thanks for watching.